Welcome back to Pathfinders, a podcast series from RBC Capital Markets, where we explore the fast-moving world of biotech and pharma. I'm your host, Joe Coletti. Today I'm speaking with John Cox, Chief Executive Officer of Dyne Therapeutics, a clinical-stage biotechnology company focused on delivering functional improvement for people living with genetically driven neuromuscular diseases. Dyne sits at the intersection of genetic medicine, targeted delivery, and rare disease innovation. We'll discuss the company's mission, recent clinical progress, and the broader forces reshaping the future of neuromuscular disease treatment. John, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here.
So Dyne has made significant progress over the past year across its clinical programs. Let's start by talking about how you're thinking about the company's next phase of growth, but also what strategic shifts you think are most important as Dyne advances toward becoming a leader in neuromuscular disease therapeutics.
So thank you, Joe. We at Dyne, we are very much in a growth mode. It's a transitional time. It's transformational, really, for the company. We're building a company that is a pure play neuromuscular company that's on a mission to provide functional improvement in neuromuscular diseases. In terms of transitioning the company, we've been an early stage company. By early next year, we should be a commercial company, a fully integrated biotech company. That's a big transition. So last year, 2025, we validated our platform. It's a unique delivery platform to deliver genetic medicines. We validated that in two diseases in humans, DM1 and in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. This is the year that we described to people, we are scaling the company. We're transforming Dyne to become a commercial company. And in 2027, we anticipate launching our first drug, z-rostudirsen, for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And we really believe that it is going to transform the field of DMD. And we intend to do the same thing in DM1 1 year later.
When you take a look at the big picture right now, what forces do you see really reshaping the treatment landscape for neuromuscular disease right now? We know technology is playing a role, but what else do you see in the landscape?
I do think the delivery approaches are what are really changing the field, and it's not a minor change. If you think about this field of genetic medicines, oligonucleotides, nucleic acid medicines, the early work on antisense oligonucleotides was in the 70s. Here we are 40 or 50 years later, and we're finally figuring out how to deliver these genetic medicines to muscle and to the CNS. Over the last 10 years, most of the drugs that have been approved have been delivered to the liver. But how do you get to the billions of muscle cells and across the blood-brain barrier to the CNS for neuromuscular diseases? To be able to do that is transformative. And then the reason I joined this company is because the scientists at Dyne had developed a technology and a capability that we thought would be able to do it. And the data we're showing today is actually showing functional improvement across a couple of diseases. So it's a disruption, I think, in the field, and I think it's going to be an explosion of nucleic acid medicines now going forward.
So maybe talk to us a little bit about your FORCE platform, sort of what it is, how it works, what might be possible for patients with these serious muscular diseases because of it.
The FORCE platform has a targeting component that is an antibody fragment, a Fab. It targets a particular receptor called the transferrin receptor, which is found on virtually all muscle cells. And it also coats the blood-brain barrier. And the transferrin receptor is there because it transfers in transferrin and iron. Cells need that. The issue has been that when you hit that receptor, you tend to bind it, particularly monoclonal antibodies, for an extended period of time. It disrupts, in other words, the function of the receptor to transport iron. And so you end up with a dose limitation of anemia as a result. What Dyne did was said, what if we just use an antibody fragment that targeted a particular epitope on the transferrin receptor? And instead of binding it or being there for any extended period, have a very short half-life, drop off its nucleic acid, dupe the receptor into transferring it into the cell, and then enable that oligonucleotide to go to the cytoplasm or the nucleus to affect the translation of proteins. It's really a profound kind of approach and overcoming some of the dose limiting toxicities that you would have with other approaches. What that has meant, getting to your second part of your question now, what does it mean for patients? Is that we have been able to, in DMD and in DM1, to use different oligonucleotides. In one case in DMD, it's what's called a PMO. In another case, for DM1, we use an antisense oligonucleotide. The best anybody has hoped for has been a slowing of decline in the disease. What we've been seeing in both of these diseases is improvement from baseline in function.
John, walk me through how you're getting ready for commercialization next year. What are some of the most important capabilities that you're focused on at Dyne right now?
I joined this company because I love launching products, and particularly in rare diseases where there's unmet needs. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. Everybody who has joined this company from a commercial and medical standpoint feels the same way. We brought in outstanding medical leaders. We brought in great medical affairs people, top people in commercial. So we're at a point in time where we're building out all the pieces that are needed to enable a successful launch. It's in some ways just a moral obligation at this point when you get good clinical data to move rapidly, to execute well, and to launch well. That includes adding people that are market access experts because you have to figure out a way to get these drugs to patients, to get them reimbursed. We're building out patient services capabilities, market access capabilities, medical affairs capabilities, and even, scaling from a manufacturing and inventory standpoint.
So I want to shift and talk a little bit about capital. Dyne's advancing multiple programs. How do you and the company really think about capital allocation right now, strategic flexibility as you kind of enter this next stage?
This point about capital allocation is really important in biotech, in particular at this stage. Now, we've been fortunate as a company to have just great investors who have continued to invest. And really, over the last year, even some new investors who invest in later stage and commercial stage companies were well capitalized. The key at this point, though, is to allocate that capital to the right things. Is very easy to start spending and building out a big company and overbuilding on G&A. You cannot do that. We have to invest in the launch for those things that will make the launch successful. Now, fortunately, in our disease areas and neuromuscular diseases, both DMD and DM1, we only need one sales force and one commercial infrastructure. And even with our platform, the Force platform, it's the same fab. So we essentially have the same manufacturing and similar supply chains. And so we don't have to build duplicate infrastructures, and we can have a very capital efficient commercial infrastructure. One key thing you have to do is make sure you are investing appropriately, not cheaply, but appropriately in areas that matter. Inventory matters if you're going to launch some successful products. Really good infrastructure in terms of IT infrastructure matters. So we think long and hard about capital allocation. The majority of our money is going into preparing, building for successful launches on both of those programs and doing everything that we need to do to advance the progress clinically of the phase threes.
When you think about leadership lessons, I'm wondering what you think some of the most important lessons have been as you've gone through this process and continue to guide Dyne through this next phase of growth.
When you're trying to build a biotech company and launch a couple products, and you think of what it takes to go from concept to a product, it's a decade or more work. On paper, it seems almost impossible. Our company is actually in a position to launch two products under 10 years from the time, we really launched this company. But it's hard. I mean, I used to hear people say in this field, well, it ain't rocket science. And I've always said, well, you're right. It's a lot harder than that. I think we could be launching satellites a lot sooner. I think from a leadership standpoint, you have got to attract the right people with the right ethos. You need people on the team, in the company, everybody that has this belief that The toughest of medical challenges can be overcome with great science. They can be overcome with really passionate people that are committed to doing something for patients. And then you add on top of that, you hire people that really know what they're doing. I mean, we just bringing in people that have the expertise, but they're also people that want to get their hands dirty, are passionate, and committed to it. So, from a leadership standpoint, that's what I look for. As a consequence, I'll tell you, if you walk around Dyne and you walk around the hallways, this place is active, it's energized. We have people come in and meet with us from outside, and they're like, "My God, It's Friday, 5 o'clock, and the parking lot's full." Because everybody is on a mission, an absolute mission to make a difference in what we call functional improvement in DMD and DM1. And it's just the beginning for us.
I know we've only just scratched the surface about Dyne, but John, it's really been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Joe. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Pathfinders in Biopharma, brought to you by RBC Capital Markets. Please remember to subscribe to get more great content and be alerted about future episodes. This episode was recorded on June 10th, 2026. If you'd like to learn more or continue the conversation, please contact your RBC representative or visit rbccm.com/biopharma. See you all next time.
Is based on information available at the time it was recorded and is for informational purposes only. It is not an offer to buy or sell or a solicitation, and no recommendations are implied. It is outside the scope of this communication to consider whether it is suitable for you and your financial objectives.